What did you say?
Q.
Q.
Okay. Welcome to Ceox. I know it looks a lot.
Oh man, you know what? Oh wait a minute, hold on.
What?
I'm a little bit bummed. We've got the timer. Was the timer right? We don't even know if the timer's right.
No, well, so we don't need a timer for this.
Oh, no timer.
Right, because we only had a format
you didn't
for
tell
unencrypted.
Me that.
No,
You gotta set me up
Look,
for
the
this.
entire time I was working on it last minute, I was telling him we only had format for one. Yeah, I did tell you that. Like, just because you were buried your head over here and didn't hear me.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that this almost looks now like it's something on the planet.
Yeah.
Right? I don't quite know what the planet is. So, welcome to Ceox, the obviously extraordinarily different.
Can you tell it? We changed everything.
We changed everything. And I know it might look a little bit the same to some people. It's probably the clock. But this is really a different rhythm. We're much more calm. We're much more ready to go. Okay, truly it's because we don't have a format that we're trying to follow right now that I can relax a little bit. So we talked about our format, and I think that, we should look at maybe that, like you say, it's 17-minute segments, 3 minutes allowed for the break in between. Which, we'll have to play with a little bit. Probably at the end, it's a little bit less than these 17 minutes. And, we've got our first guest of the night. The guest co-host, the co-host with the mostest, the co-hostess, the mostest, the general trustee, the chairman of the board. And we can't hear her at all. Which tells me her speaker is on. She's not talking, but we do have audio. And that's the important thing, is that we have audio. So, Sierra, I finally figured out the Bitcoin thing this week. And the story gets really scary. I finally understand the whole thing. And here it is. Satoshis are a free commodity that people brand. That's something, isn't it? So let's just kind of talk through what I kind of figured out this week, finally. So what's a Satoshi? Well, every Bitcoin has 100 million Satoshis. Now, the easiest way we might look at that is to say, like, every dollar has 100 pennies. And you can look at it that way, but it would be a bit more accurate to look at those pennies as if they had just like a little microchip in them that could hold, a couple 100K worth of memory, right? So you could put some data on that penny. You don't have to put data on that penny, but it's sort of useless without any data, and it's not required. So it just sits there, and it really has absolutely no value until you decide to use it to sort of put data on the penny. And then you've got to pay somebody to kind of insert the data on the penny, which is fine. That's just like you're writing it, you're minting the penny, right? So you're putting the information on the penny. So you pay somebody, and interestingly enough, you pay them in pennies, right? So you're basically just using the same pennies. It's like you went to that fairground thing where you put your penny in and you just completely change it, and you paid 50 cents to have your penny go through this roller that then printed out County Fair, and you're like, ooh, look, I've got a penny that says County Fair, and I paid 50 cents for that County Fair penny that was really only worth a penny and truly was the value of the copper. And if we were to say that Satoshis, though, were designed to be a penny, but there's 100 million of them, obviously, in each dollar, they're worth much, much, much less than a penny. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, from its design, it was always intended that some of those Satoshis would be free. Right? But there's 100 million of them times 21 million, because there's 21 million Bitcoin. Right? So that's a lot of Satoshis. And some of those Satoshis, right now, most of them are just like useless pennies, right? Because but the idea was that we'd be able to make transactions for less than the cost of a penny, because that's kind of the problem that we're trying to solve right now, is when you try to buy something online and you've got to pay through, a PayPal or some other processor, you've got that, 2% transaction fee plus 30 cents, unless you're doing this or that. But, ultimately speaking, you're constantly looking at, 5 to 20% of a transaction may be caught up in just the transaction fees because we don't know how to do microtransactions very well. So we just pay for those microtransactions to things like Facebook, who just gives away all of our information so that they can take those pennies and they can mint county fair on it and say, hey, look at my pennies better than the penny that you gave me for free, right? So it's this interesting thing that we've got all these Satoshis. But here's the big problem. Stepping back, Satoshis are a commodity. And, the easiest way to look at a commodity is it's the raw material that is required to build something. So, commodities are things like corn, right? Yes, there's different brands of corn. There's different hybrids of corn, whatever else. Yep. But when you're buying corn, right, you buy it by the ton. And if you want to take delivery of corn, you buy it from the mercantile market. You buy it from wherever. But, they literally trade commodities on the big open market. And, they trade them in tons and tonnage. And when you're buying tons and tons of corn and there's nothing special about it, it's just delivered and put into your storage bin so you can feed your cows. Whatever it is that you're buying that much corn for, maybe you're, some flour company that sells, cornmeal or whatever. So you're buying all of that corn, and you're probably buying it from a middleman. But the commodity is the corn, right? It's just that there's so much of it. Like when you think about chickens, and they talk about pig bellies, and that's like, no pig is really that different than another pig. No chicken's really that different from another chicken. So these commodities are things which are just kind of the base unit or the base thing that has some sort of value for some purpose, but it's in its most raw form. Gold is a commodity. Silver is a commodity. Copper is a commodity, right? And each of those can be, right? Gold can be used to conduct electricity, or it can just be used as a gold bar, right? And if you use gold to conduct electricity, it's actually worth a little bit more than it was when it was just gold, because you've given it utility without removing its value, right? It's still worth gold, if you will. Like nothing is really ever worth less than its base value, and except for corn if it rots, right? There's issues that come along with commodities that don't necessarily exist with other things, except for so a commodity, right? It has a commodity doesn't generate revenue, right? It's if you wanted to buy into a commodity and you bought a whole bunch of gold, it doesn't generate revenue, but it can create, or it can appreciate in value. But gold itself, just sitting there, is not going to create a cash flow. It'll create a capital gain. So different and important. And, where you can create cash flow built on a commodity, not only do you get cash flow, not only do you get capital gain, but you get cash flow, which gives you more value for the use of that commodity, right? So, okay, we're going through all this stuff, and we're back to the idea that Satoshi was designed from the get-go to be a sometimes free commodity, which tells you that the value of a Satoshi was always meant to be very, very minimal, because its value was not in the Satoshi, it's in what the Satoshi could be. It could be that penny that we imprinted something on and gave it more information. Now, what could that information be? Well, that Satoshi could just literally be your identity, right? It could be the Satoshi that you own that says, I am Sierra. This little penny proves it. I minted this penny. I verify that the information on this penny is accurate. That is my email address according to me when I minted that thing. So I now have a penny with my information, and if you bring your penny to mine, I can kind of send it to you because I've got the near field communication penny, which is even more valuable than the penny that doesn't have the near field communication on it. So, okay, that's really cool. That when you start to realize that all we're really doing is we now have ability to create data value, right? So we actually get to attach our data, our value, to a penny, and when that penny is used or by others, we can actually earn from it, because we can actually put processes on that penny, because it's a Satoshi. It's not real. It's a version of a penny. It's a container of a penny. It's just a commodity. It doesn't have any value until you give it utility value. And the utility value can literally be things like, well, this week they tokenized, that's the word, they tokenized a type of litigation that is called privately funded litigation. It's sort of like a class action lawsuit, but as opposed to the risk being all, I guess the risk is shared, right? But people actually invest into these lawsuits, and if they win, then they make an investment back. Well, they tokenized, they printed on the penny the agreement about who was going to contribute to this this particular lawsuit and what the terms were that when it came back. So that becomes like the, I don't want to call it necessarily the legal agreement, but we'll call it the processing agreement, right? The agreement that it's the coin, it's the commonly shared coin that we all own collectively and agree upon what was put onto that coin. And now when we add information like how much money went in from everybody and how much did we earn, did we win the lawsuit? No, we didn't. Wow, that penny's worthless. Throw it away. Right? Like, okay, what's good is that? That lawsuit we lost, it just had a whole bunch of money in it that was kind of worthless. Throw it away. Or, ooh, we won that lawsuit. Now all of the value that came from winning that gets put into this penny, and I can now share that. Now, technically, that one penny is owned by another penny of mine, right? That says that's my identity. That penny that has my identity on it is the one represented with this penny. So we hold that penny together with other people, and my identity on that blockchain gets paid. So my Satoshi gets paid its portion of what's on that penny. Right? So, okay, it's a commodity. So you've got it now, don't you? That fully explains everything, doesn't it?
I cannot believe you did not take a breath at all over the last 10 minutes while you were just talking about that.
There is actually a real problem with this.
You didn't take a breath at all.
Okay, first
but
off...
I understand the gist of it. Yes, I understand the gist of it.
A little bit?
Yep.
So if you tune into the Pirates tonight, we're going to talk about this thing, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it's something like Breathin' Island. There are people who are living in this world, at least they claim, basically eating nothing. On occasion, they will have some broth. On occasion, they'll have a bite of fruit. On occasion, they might have a little something else. But they basically don't eat, and that they have found a way of completely living off the energy that's available through nature. The woman did this according to the article, and these people, like, while she was pregnant. Her baby was very healthy, actually exceeded some of the expected weight growth during this, and she did this while she was... Anyways, so the reason I didn't take a breath is because there's nervous excitement in all of this information. Okay?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
You today can go out and pay $65,000 to buy one Bitcoin, which would give you 100 million Satoshis.
Right.
How much were those Satoshis supposed to be worth?
Less than a penny.
Next to nothing. Some had to be free. You ready for this one? You can go out and buy BSV, right? Which is built on the Bitcoin blockchain, and spend about less than $200. And guess how many Satoshis you get?
100 million Satoshis.
100 million Satoshis. So I can buy Bitcoin and get 100 million Satoshis, or I can buy BSV and get 100 million Satoshis. One cost me $65,000. The other cost me $200.
Yeah, but the value of the commodity is basically in the eye of the beholder at this point. So clearly there's more value to the 100 million Satoshis that are on the Bitcoin than there are the BSV right now, because more people value one single Bitcoin more so than one BSV.
Absolutely correct. Should they do it that way?
If that's what the market, I mean...
Right? So this is kind of one of those times. This is kind of one of those times where the proof is in the pudding that people value a brand greater than a product. It's the mush face! Hey, look, this is glowing now.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, isn't it?
What is that? Like, why is that glowing now? Oh, by the way, do you like our new set?
Yeah, I like it.
It's kind of fun. Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
So let's go back to this thing here for a second, and let's kind of just walk through this, because it's important, and this is where it gets scary. 100% agree with you that the value is in the eye of the beholder. But what is truly the value of a commodity? It is its lowest base price.
Kind of like your chain is only as strong as your weakest link kind of thing.
Exactly, right? Because ultimately speaking, I might pay more money for a Purdue chicken, right? Which is just a brand of chicken. And they make all sorts of claims about Purdue chickens being better, and maybe they are, right? But really, I'm still dealing in a commodity. Now, that one might be a little special commodity, but fair enough. Why is your Satoshi more valuable than my Satoshi? Like, well, we didn't grow those chickens with any hormones. We let them free range. They were happy chickens except for one day on the farm when they were killed, right? So,
well, that would be more valuable to me if I value organic, or if I valued that, then that would bring more value to me.
Exactly. 100%. So you could sort of begin to differentiate between commodities based on certain properties that have added value to other people, right? So we have properties of the commodity that add value. Excellent. Growth hormone, no growth hormones, free range chickens, we're good, right? Excellent. Now, if the actual commodity itself already has those properties, and you have the ability to add even greater properties, then the true value is with the opportunity that can do that, right? So here's the thing. BTC has less properties and less utility opportunity and less ability to actually do what Bitcoin was designed to do than BSV. Bitcoin, like by design, Bitcoin from get-go, white paper, was basically, we need to be able to process more transactions than Visa, else we've failed as a transaction processor. And that's fair. Right? I mean, truly Bitcoin is about it's a data network that processes monetary transactions. That's what it is. Right? And Bitcoin, as we know it, BTC, it can process, I think I've seen numbers as high as like 15 transactions a second.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
wow,
that's nowhere near what Visa does.
I said that sarcastically.
Well, how much? What does Visa do? Like, what is the average with that? Because I don't know.
Let's call it like 100,000 a second.
Yeah.
So BSV has surpassed that.
Wow.
Right. So now I've got BSV. I have Satoshis available through BSV that have actually accomplished what BTC was being sold to accomplish.
Okay.
So now I have $65,000 into a whole bunch of Satoshis that are not really worth anything more than the best on chain, which is currently BSV.
Right, but that still doesn't change the fact that like the Tom Brady's of the world value Bitcoin more than BSV. So
Correct.
when that, I mean, that doesn't like the actual value of something might not necessarily mesh up, like align with what people see as its true value. If that makes sense.
No, it does absolutely make sense. We misalign value constantly. Right? I mean, effectively, as humans, we've allowed currency or the dollar to be the resource, the tool that we value. Like, we value money greater than a shovel. We shouldn't. Money is just a flexible tool. Now, granted, it's more flexible than it's like you can use money to buy the tool to dig a hole. But ultimately, all we really wanted was the hole. The hole is what has value for us.
You can buy it one time, but
you're playing. You're balancing what it is that you're valuing. So in this case, someone values the money because they value what might seem like money over the shovel because what they can do is I value my time more. Yes. So I can hire, or I can do this easier, or I can have more time to do other things. So I think it's just depending kind of what it is that you're actually truly placing your value in. So going back to like the Bitcoin and BSV thing, I'm sure it depends on like who you are talking to about the true value of what, like the fact that BSV can do all of these transactions quicker than Visa is really impressive. But it also depends on like who you're talking to and like why. In a day and age where everybody looks to influencers and the first thing they say is like, oh, Bitcoin, because they don't really actually know what Bitcoin is, its actual intended use is meant to be.
Well, no, anybody who wants to know knows that because there's the entire history behind it. There's the white paper. Satoshi Nakamoto wrote the.
I'm just talking in general. I'm not talking about people who are very much like that. I'm talking about people who, honestly, like me, that don't take the time to understand like the intentions and the history of what this is. So I might value Bitcoin more just because I think of it as like, okay, how can it make me money faster? If that makes sense.
It does.
Which I know
sense.
That's not
I
what
think
crypto
you are
is supposed to be.
Right? And I think you're 100% right. And now comes the scary part.
That I was right? No, I'm just kidding.
What's that?
Nothing. I said that I was right. I said just kidding.
No, the scary part is that most people think like you're thinking right now.
Right.
Right? And very soon, the world may have to face that is a completely wrong way of viewing Bitcoin. And when it's made...
Right.
Right? And what happens when that happens? What happens when the world realizes what we're expressing to you right now is more true, and that I can get you far greater valued Satoshis through BSV than you can through BTC?
I think it's just, I think when people get put in a situation where you have to learn something or you have to know something, you're forced into it. So people will know and understand.
So I'm asking though, what happens to the price of the Satoshis?
Oh, it goes up.
No, down.
Why? If people...
Because
you're talking about but the value in which Satoshis are held at, because once I start to understand its true usage, then I will place a higher value on a Satoshi.
Fair, yes.
If that makes sense. So
right,
that's what
absolutely.
I'm saying. Like,
it's going to go up, but not as high as it is in the other areas.
Right.
Okay, yeah, okay.
The cost of a Satoshi through BSV will go up.
Yeah.
The cost of the Satoshi through BTC
will
be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be diminished.
So all that money,
because everybody will have it. It's almost like a saturated thing at that point.
Well, and it's just, I can give you the same thing, only better, at literally a tenth of the percent that you're paying for it right now.
Right.
Right? So all that money that's in Bitcoin right now, scary.
It goes,
away.
Transfer of wealth.
Away. Have you heard people talking about the greatest transfer of wealth in generations? Bitcoin will be, in every way, one of the primary platforms in this forthcoming economy.
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin built on Satoshis will be that. That right now is far and away looking like that's BSV and not at all BTC. Mm-hmm. And that, like, when I hit that, I was like, okay, this is not good, because effectively Bitcoin completely falls out, right? Now,
how long till that happens, though? Because I think you have just so many people that are investing into.
So let's.
I know it's not an investment, but people treat it as an investment.
Yeah, let's say it this way: Coinbase, right? One of the biggest now. They went public, and people trade their cryptos through Coinbase, right? So Coinbase is probably one of the bigger crypto exchanges in America right now. When they went public, in their disclosure statements, where here's what you should expect, but they have to identify what they view as possible threats to their company. They basically said that one of the biggest threats to their company is if the world has to accept that Craig Wright is Satoshi Nakamoto. And that court case begins in 1 week.
Okay. So
and in that court case, nobody is denying.
I don't know who Craig Wright is, though. I don't know, like, what.
So
are you saying? I don't know who Craig Wright is.
So Satoshi Nakamoto is the pseudonym, because the person who wrote all the stuff in the initial code and everything else for Bitcoin, the first white papers, the first initial code, did it under a pseudonym because he didn't want to know where it came from. It was meant to be alive on its own.
Okay.
So that was Satoshi Nakamoto. There's a whole bunch of people who say it's not Craig Wright. The problem is nobody's been able to prove it is or it isn't, and only truly Satoshi holds the keys, and it looks like Craig holds the keys. And this next lawsuit, the person bringing this lawsuit the plaintiff is not questioning whether Craig is Satoshi Nakamoto. He's saying Craig is Satoshi Nakamoto, and this is why he has to share. So the case is literally getting to the point of proving that Craig is Satoshi Nakamoto. And now once this comes out, is it going to instantly hit the... No, but it's going to send shockwaves. Because when you have something as big as Coinbase saying that was the biggest threat to our company, and if that comes out, then people are going to have to say, I don't comprehend why this is the biggest threat, and people are going to go, okay, let me explain Satoshis to you.
Yeah.
So that last half hour is exactly the conversation we need to be prepared to have, as literally, probably hundreds of billions of dollars are going to be wiped out in this economy.
Yeah.
Out of BTC. And
somebody's got to pop that balloon.
Right? And a lot of people said that ultimately it was sold this way to hide inflation, and that way BTC could be the scapegoat for all that is wrong. And this is what happens when you allow markets to be unregulated. People sell you things, except for the fact that what we're coming to realize is it was people were covering up things and are trying to hide who Satoshi Nakamoto actually is. Okay, well, anyways, that's the end of our Satoshi conversation, and we need to get into our keeping step, which is the Bills were off last week in vacation mode. And we all know what it's like to be in vacation mode. It's like, you don't want to leave Margaritaville. And by the time you're leaving Margaritaville, you're already thinking about when you can get back to Margaritaville. But now you got to leave Margaritaville behind and get back on the road to the Super Bowl. So we're going to take our break, and we're going to come back, and Sierra is going to tell us how the Bills are going to get back in step on the road to the Super Bowl. We'll be back in 2 minutes. 2, 3,
3 minutes.
4, 5, 3. 3. We'll go for 3.
All right, we're going for 3.
3-1. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back. Right.
Wait, I don't see Sierra.
So what else should we gotta wait for...
I think she can hear us talking.
Possibly.
We'll call her back. Sierra. The 3 minutes may or may not be up, but we're back and your camera's on.
I'm going to put your countdown timer on, Sierra.
Yeah, a countdown timer to get Sierra back.
That's funny. Let's see. I think I put that one in. Whoop, that does that one. Good. And then I gotta be prepared.
Okay, what was this one last week? Oh, Sierra. Okay, so while we're waiting for Sierra to come back, I am
Bills
going to...
on bye week.
Bills on bye week. So the second half of Ceox, we always talk about the Bills because
we're from upstate New York.
We're from upstate New York. Been big, huge Bills fans ever since back in the day. You know, it's like,
yeah.
Try to remember who it is that you're like. Okay, I remember Joe Ferguson. Right, you go all the way back. Sierra is a nutcase fan. Okay, I mean, like you should follow her on Twitter, and you're like she'll narrate every single possible why couldn't it have gone better situation. Like, I can't believe
perfect armchair quarterback.
Yo, it's like I can't believe it was only a 99-yard return. I wish it should have been 100. Yeah, it should have been 99.9. Like, that's
picking it apart.
Yeah, but she's a great commentator on sports. Years ago, she actually thought about that she should be an ESPN sideline reporter. I think that she'd thoroughly love that. So, and she's back. Okay.
Oh, we got it.
And now we're getting an echo for some reason, like you have two things on.
Do I have? Hello?
You probably have it running in the background or something.
Yeah, you probably have to close out and come back.
Okay. All right. I'll come back.
All right, bye. All right, that's it. Yeah, so I think that's probably I think I've had something like that happen before.
Yeah, that does that on occasion. I can't wait to get our platform set up with that type of a setup. That's going to be nice.
So, anyway, so the Bills, I mean, we basically decided, okay, the Bills are on a championship run this year, and since that's something we enjoy, and that there's a mindset, and so there's some ways that you have to think to kind of achieve greatness together, that we would each week kind of take a look at, what did the Bills do, and look for, how to be your professional best. So that's what we're doing in this segment. And this week is, obviously, the Bills are coming off a bye week. And, I watched a few of the things. I watched a few of the guys who were talking that it's really tough to come off of, it's really tough to go down during the bye week. Sean McDermott said that he tries to mentally check out, but you just can't really. And he said that that's more off season where you try to make sure that you mentally check out because you've got to be on so often. But yeah, so okay, Sierra, how do you keep it in stride? How do you take that next step? How do you make sure that the next step is more solid than the first step?
Well, I think one of the consistent thoughts throughout, every time we talk about this, it's always having one goal in mind. So as a professional athlete, everything you do should be, just by the sheer definition of being a professional, everything you do should be working towards bettering yourself within whatever given career field that you're in. It's spending time making sure, in this case, their bodies are in shape. They're studying the playbook. They're doing what they can, but it's also important to take mental breaks too. But it's important to know, the Bills are 4-0 outside after the bye week under Sean McDermott so far. So, and what better way to try to get right than playing the Miami Dolphins, who just for whatever reason cannot get their footing under them.
So Miami I just definitely seems to be struggling. One of the things about that though is that, like they say, it doesn't really always matter that one is a great team and one is a not so great team. When you're in the same division, these are real rivalries that teams come to play to win, and there's no professional that wants to lose. And is Tua still starting in Miami?
Yeah, he's still starting. Yeah,
right.
He's not very
and there's a guy who. He knows how to win. He wants to win. We saw that in college. It hasn't manifested. Like, this would be a big win for him. So we can be certain that the Miami Dolphins want to win this game. Right?
Well, yeah, everybody wants to win every game. I mean, they're professionals. Their entire goal, I mean, I would probably say most of the people in the NFL, their goal is to win, you know? So whether, I mean, that should be what every person is aiming for, but just from like a sheer talent standpoint and frankly, better coaching, the Bills are just better off. And I think, if they were to lose this week, it is the NFL. So there's always a chance that you could lose in some way. But I just think Sean McDermott is just so focused and is very good at keeping his team focused. And the way these guys talk, it was just like, all right, yeah, we lost to Tennessee a couple weeks ago. It sucks that we have to go into a bye week with this taste in our mouth. But you know what? This is a week-to-week league. You forget about it and you move on and you prepare for the next opponent. So that's what I just think Sean McDermott is very, very good about making sure his team stays humble, like understanding that it is really hard to win in the NFL. And then
absolutely, yeah. I think that and let's talk for a second about one of the things you just said, because earlier Tim and I were talking about, the Eisenhower decision boxes, the urgent, important, urgent, not important, help you make decisions. You've seen it. Anyways, during that we were talking about, when you're making decisions, how you make decisions for your life, but really like making sure that you are planning time in your life sort of to accommodate your profession. If you're doing your professional best, you can't be on as a human all the time. You just said it's like you do need to have those mental breaks. So how do you think you take a healthy? How do you ensure that your mental breaks are healthy?
Good question. I don't know. I would think that like when you say you're taking a mental break, I think it's making sure that when you do take that mental break, that it's not diverting yourself from what the goal is in this instance. So like you don't want your team to go into the bye week and when the goal is to win a Super Bowl, that's what every NFL team should strive for. The goal is to win the Super Bowl. You don't want your team going out during the bye week and racing that, I don't know, doing coke on a boat off the coast of wherever,
Now stop. These are professional athletes who are tested, not rich people with yachts. All right. So, no, 100%. I think where I was more going with this, though, is the idea that as a professional athlete, as a professional at the top of your game, and bringing back the idea where Tim was going earlier about the importance of sort of planning for rest in your life, that when it's time for a rest, because they're going to make sure their body is as finely tuned as a machine as it can be.
Well, that's what I think the bye week is more for physical rest. I mean, it's a good thing to like get your head away, but these guys' bodies just barely have a chance to recover before they go into the next week. So I think the bye week is more for physical rest. Of course, you take a chance to get away from the job for a little while. But frankly, you know what? Their season is 4 months long, these football players, maybe. And so you have the rest of the off season to work out and go on vacation. So
apparently, and some of them apparently actually did go away. I think it might have been Poyer I saw that like they actually went to the beach this week, right? And I know that they're not going to the beach in Buffalo this time of year, right? So
I think they're from Florida, though. I think that's why they go. Like they live in Florida.
Absolutely, right? Like, they do live in Florida.
I think I think that's where they live.
So, so some of the players may actually have homes, and then they have, like, the place that they stay while they're the season. Okay. So that would make some sense. Where I wanted to go with that a little bit, though, is that part of being a professional is taking healthy breaks, right? And the healthy break, 100%, I think that you're hitting on it, Sierra, and it's the really important thing is just because you're on break, the goal didn't change. just because you're on break doesn't mean you should now decide that, yeah, maybe the goal can wait a little bit longer, right? No, but you make sure that while you're on break, that you are as fully into the moment of being on break and intentionally on break as you can be. Be as professional about your mental well-being, your physical well-being. Be as professional and disciplined about your necessary downtime, your necessary recovery time. Be as purposeful about that as you are every other aspect of being that champion player, so that the downtime can be extraordinarily healthy. Now, most of us have trouble turning off the goal. Most of us have trouble turning off the profession. And I think that when we're doing the work we're called to do in life, we don't want to turn off the profession. It's truly who we are. It starts to be a part of us. And therefore, like, when you recognize how much you put to your profession, you then must also recognize you need to give some back to the health, right? To the health of that. But you're right. They're not going to lose. Their mind is not going to be changing. They're staying focused on the goal, but they know that they need to take this time to be healthy, and they also know that they need to be prepared when they come back. And it seems from some of the chatter that's been going on social media, like most of the guys really don't even like being away right now, right? They enjoy the game so much, right, that they're watching the game on TV. They're watching other players. They're watching college ball, and it's simply who they are, and they want to be back on the field. And hearing that, it's like, yeah, we want you back on the field too, because, you know, we need to make sure. Like, look, if the Dolphins score, I don't want to hear I don't want anything on Twitter from you if the Dolphins score.
Yeah, I'm gonna be no. The Bills need a comeback game against the Dolphins because they really pooped the bed against the Titans on defense. So, yeah, they need a get well game against the Miami Dolphins.
What'd you say? They pooped the bed? What?
The defense pooped the bed.
I disagree.
Against the Titans.
I disagree.
The defense against the Titans?
Yeah, no, I disagree. I think that the Titans had a good game plan. I think that, you know, the Bills, maybe their game plan on defense wasn't as strong as it could be because they didn't bring in the strong pass rushers who could have gone after Tannehill. I don't think that the defense really did a bad job. I think they went against a well-coached offense for the defense that was on the field and a Mack truck, right? And
I mean,
it's
the
like,
New York Jets beat the Titans, so...
What's that?
I said the New York Jets beat the Titans, so...
Well, fair enough. Like, so...
That means we have to watch
anyways, and that's what... See, we'll just give them... It's almost been 2 weeks. We'll just move on to the Miami Dolphins and hope the Bills can squish the fish again because they need it. They can't have any more conference losses.
So what's going on with Mahomes? What's going on with the Chiefs? Right?
I don't know. He looks terrible.
Right. That's
Lauren thinks it's Lauren. Every time I bring up like Patrick Mahomes, she's like, I think he's in his head. I think it's all like she's like, I think the Bills like really got into his head with that game because ever since then he's just kind of not played his very best.
I saw something that pointed to the exact time it all began.
What's that?
When he put a ring on that girl's finger.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did. That's what they're saying. It all goes back to that.
No, he's still okay. He's turning over the ball a lot, but he's still like in terms of other statistics, still very good. I
don't think you have any idea how much a woman can distract a man.
Oh my gosh, she's got a daughter at home too. What if
about
it's
your mother?
maybe
Like,
it's
I'm driving down the street and I'm like, get out of my way. My wife's on my mind. Boom, sorry, I hit you. He may be a professional, but he's getting married. He's going to be a dad.
He is a dad.
His mind is somewhere else.
No, he'll be fine. That's like I want the Chiefs to keep losing just because I feel like it'll click at any point for them. So like I want them to keep losing. But I don't know. Last week was just like what are you doing? He was so bad last week. Which is crazy because like up until this season, Patrick Mahomes had not really had a bad game ever. You know what I mean? Like had not really had, and his bad games were probably like good games for other quarterbacks. So
again, I don't really know what's going on. I don't pay that close attention to him. I'm just having a little fun. I did see a mem that's
I watch a couple of games. Yeah, it's just like you're kind of like
talked about that, and I'm just bringing that up because the mindset, right? And we've talked about it. Is that the mindset is to win. The Bills are going to come back with the mindset to win. The Bills are going to squish the fish.
I hope so.
If not, we're going to have to listen to Devo online. Like, oh, come on now.
I know.
Huh?
What did you say?
You know Devo across the street?
Yeah, Devon. Yeah, Devon. Yeah.
Devon, do you follow him on Facebook?
No, I don't follow him on Facebook.
Okay, it is horrible when the Dolphins do anything good against the Bills. He is as rabid a Miami fan as you are a Bills fan. So like, I just don't want to hear anything from him on Facebook this week.
I know. I don't either. I don't want to. And Dolphins fans on Twitter are just very cocky for some reason, even though like they've equally not won anything in a very long time. So I don't really get it.
That's funny.
It'll
be a good game. It's going to be fun to have the Bills back up. Do you have any plans?
Josh Allen is actually the owner of the Miami Dolphins, if you didn't know that. So
who is?
Josh Allen is actually an owner of the Miami Dolphins.
I did not know that.
No, it's not. No, I'm being facetious just because every time this guy, it seems like gets put up for Player of the Week every time he plays the Miami Dolphins.
Gotcha.
I
thought you were serious. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that's conflict of interest, but I don't.
He goes off. I think there are some stats out there where it's just like, I was listening to the radio earlier. They're like, if Josh Allen just played the Miami Dolphins his entire career, he would be a for sure first ballot Hall of Famer. Because he just like, even the last game they played, like he wasn't great, but the offense still put up a ton of points. So
I do feel bad for Tua. I think the defense is going to come back because the defense does have something to prove. I understand what you're saying that the Titans offense is not the strongest in the league. I think they played a good game.
They're good. They're good. No, they're good. It's just the defense did not play well. So anytime an offense puts up over 30 points, you'd like to see your defense keep them under that,
And the offense did their job, and I think we talked about this last week. I think the defense now sits there and thinks like, we need to step our game up. Like we can't do that to our teammates. So my thought is that the defense is coming back, ready to play, and Tua is in for another bad game.
I hope so. I do not know what they see in that guy. I don't think he's good. I thought he was good at Alabama, and then he broke his hip and just has not been the same since. So,
and hey, not for anything. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with Cam Newton, right? I mean, Cam Newton got hurt and then was never the same. I mean, it could be a little trepidation in getting hurt again. It could be that.
Well, it's just he doesn't like. Today's NFL are like the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, the Justin Herberts, like these guys that can extend plays, have big arms, and can make every throw on the field. And Tua can't do that. He does not. He's very accurate, but he cannot throw.
Yeah, he's probably much more than who is that really pure pass? Well, Drew Brees early on.
Drew Brees, yeah. No, I mean even towards the end of his career, he is like he's not as good as Drew Brees, obviously, but it reminds me of that.
So, kind of to end our episode for tonight, I kind of feel bad for the guy that gave up the Brady ball. Did you see this?
Oh yeah, that was awesome. I was talking about that the other day. I was like, man. I mean, if I were in that position that guy was in, I probably would have just like given the ball back too, not thinking about it. But
So what happened? Brady threw his 600th TD. He's the first quarterback to do that, right?
I think so, but
yeah, I think he's the first to hit 600.
He is, yeah.
Wow.
I think he is, right? Wow. So it's like he hits this major milestone, and the receiver who caught the ball, just doing like they do every play, runs, tosses the ball up into the stands. Right. They're like, oh, this is the $600 ball.
Wow.
And then they're like, apparently, like during the commercial break, they send people over to the guy, and there's like negotiations. And the announcers were saying like, nah, this should be at least a few commercial break negotiations.
They said it was like a triple digit that like hundreds of thousands of like worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right, exactly, right? Like not for anything. That individual ball, just currency wise, is worth like you're saying 100,000, and that's what these guys were saying. They're like, no, come on, this is season ticket stuff. This is time. VIP. Like you get
so
everything. It's like they're like, this guy needs an agent. So do you know what he ends up with?
He ended up with, I think, 2 signed Tom Brady jerseys, 2 signed Mike Evans jerseys, 2 season tickets to finish out the season, and then I think like just a couple of other things from the team. But then Tom Brady on ESPN came on and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna gift him a Bitcoin."
Dang.
And how much is a Bitcoin worth?
65.
For today, it is.
Which is still not even like the equal of that ball. That ball's gonna.
Right. Now, if they actually associated a Satoshi with the 600th ball, that would prove ownership, because you would have the Satoshi that represented the 600th ball. Then that would be worth the ball, that one Satoshi. But instead, it's worth a Bitcoin, which is only worth 100 million useless Satoshis. All right, honey. Well, we
have that guy though. Yep.
And we are going to Huh?
Going to the Pirates.
We're going to the Pirates.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. You too. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.